Hey guys, Stealth here. Welcome to World of Warships. This time I have a very exciting match in World of Warships. I'm piloting or commanding the Ryujo, the Tier 6 Japanese aircraft carrier. There's only one other aircraft carrier on the team. It is an Independence class at Tier 6, of course, considering that these things are always matched. And I am going to be doing a sort of alpha strike on this carrier, or at least attempt to. Because the sooner I can get total domination of the skies, the better. Now, I'm teamed up here with Streef. He's in his Cleveland. I told him not to give me any kind of AA escort because usually I can manage this aircraft carrier without. Now, unfortunately, the replay system for World of Warships is still pretty bad. There's still no way to do a sort of free look, and the only thing that you can do in an aircraft carrier, and pretty much in any kind of replay, unless you're dead, is look at it from your own perspective. Unlike what you can do when you're dead in World of Warships, when you can actually look around freely. Anyway, always trying to keep the carrier moving, as opposed to what some people do, and I find that this is a really critical issue for aircraft carriers. Way too often you see aircraft carriers who think that there's some sort of airport. Well, trust me, this thing has propulsion. This thing can move. You are not an airport, so please move with your fleet so the fleet doesn't have to come back and save you when you get yourself into trouble because you don't move. This is why I always try to immediately find out where the fleet is going and to cruise at a steady pace slightly behind the aircraft, behind the rest of the fleet. Currently I'm doing a little under 13 knots, this is because I'm slightly turning. And you can see most of the friendlies are seemingly heading off in this direction. My air wing is going to be taking this side. It's going to try and take the route along the one column here in order to get along the flank, and the carrier has already been spotted by my other fighters, or by my fighters. And the fight, whoops. Yeah, right, I cannot influence the replay anyway. The fighters over here are all ready to get going. They have been sent out to spot the enemy aircraft or spot the carrier and to provide a bit of a distraction, but it seems like the aircraft carrier is completely AFK. He's not launching any kind of fighters whatsoever. So my package is flying around the sides, 4 torpedo bombers per squadron and 4 dive bombers per squadron. In the meanwhile, the enemy team has been, of course, pushing on. We have a New York coming out here, as well as a Koningsberg. I considered going for any of these cruisers or the battleship, but decided against it and just kept going for the enemy aircraft carrier, although I kind of took the long way around. Whereas taking the short way around, so pretty much flying over the enemy, probably would have cost me a few aircraft. Very aggressive move here by a Gnevny. He's also backed up by a Farragut. We got a Miyoko coming right down the middle. And the Miyoko is one of the guys that we're going to be seeing a little bit more of later in this replay. Streef is moving along with a Miyoko here. We have a Scorse who's pushing up, as far as I'm concerned, way too aggressively. A Scorse, the way that I play it and the way that I'm pretty successful with it, is just trying to keep it slightly behind the lines. Try to keep it closer to your friendlies, because this thing does not have a lot of armor. Anyway, I happen to spot a Minakaze with my fighters. I'm not exactly sure why it's all the way out there, but the right flank from the enemy team is really weak. We already have a Koningsberg who's pushing through. He's engaging a Mutsuki and also going to be engaging the aircraft carrier. You can see someone already did a bit of damage. Dropped my torpedoes. I dropped them quite far away because they do converge a little bit. Had I dropped them at this distance, I probably would not have gotten as many hits. So there's a whole lot of damage, caused flooding, and considering that the guy is AFK, I don't really need to hit him again. He's just flooding, and I'm perfectly happy to let the flooding damage do its damage over time. So that means I suddenly have my dive bombers at the ready. Now we are already 3 ships down. And that is mostly because the Scorse went down in the middle. We lost 1 destroyer, we just lost an Omaha, and there's our first kill. Finally the aircraft carrier goes down to flooding. But the team list is currently looking 3 ships up for them. We are not in a very good position here. Dive bombers pushing up, trying to get a little bit of damage done on the Mitsuki here, trying to help out the cruiser. Put him on fire and I damage him. And I'm hoping that he's going to be burning to death. Looks like he may have been using his repair team already in the fight with the cruiser, but he does manage to put out the fire. Unfortunately for him, the Congo finishes him off, but not before receiving quite a few parting gifts from that destroyer and going down to pretty much half health. All my aircraft are coming home, getting back to rearm and repair, and where needed, get additional aircraft, as I'm using my fighters mostly as a scouting force. I'm trying to keep this destroyer lit up so I can keep having the Congo fire at it. And in the meantime, I start looking around, considering our team is still 3 ships down and we have a very, very large gap in the middle. I'm saying we need to kill these low ships, or low health ships, and fast. There's a Kiev coming in, there's a cruiser here, I believe the Farragut is somewhere there. I'm trying to get these aircraft turned around ASAP. The first torpedo bomber has already been rearmed and is being sent out again. And most of our ships are off skirmishing to the column of 1 and 2, which means that we basically have nothing covering our cap. Save for 1 Kamikaze R. That's all that was standing between the enemy destroyer and me. And the enemy destroyer has managed to kill the Kamikaze. Now, Ryujo can be detected at 9.6 kilometer range. That means that he does not know where I am. He can probably do an educated guess, but at this point he seemed to be more interested in actually trying to cap than trying to race off and try and kill me. Situation is looking very, very bad. 4 ships have been killed, more than we have killed theirs. So it's really starting to ramp up, and we really need to start getting kills. We got a Fuso, a Koenigsberg, again very, very low health, only 419 hit points. New York half health, the Gnevny is low health, but the problem is that all of these low health ships can still fire, and that's exactly what they're doing. They're putting out a lot of damage, and all of this damage is going into my ally. It's going into the New Mexico. We have 1 Kiev trying to slug it out with the other Kiev that is currently trying to cap. And over towards the right we have 1 Congo, who seems to be in a pretty poor position to help out anyone at the moment. Dive bombers are coming in, as I'm also setting up my torpedo bombers for a strike, and this is a bit problematic. I was trying to do 2 strikes at once, which didn't really work out, so I decided to focus on the torpedo bombers instead. Trying to get a good run on the Fuso, and I need to kill this guy, because he is doing, at the moment, what seems to be the most damage towards the friendlies that are still alive. So, torpedoes going in, and yeah, you could argue that I might not have had to drop this many torpedoes in the water to kill him, but I wanted a guaranteed kill. At the same time, try to do a dive bomber run on the Kiev, completely ended up missing him. Our Kiev is trying to hold out. He seems to be either flooding or on fire, and he's using his own smoke for cover, but the Farragut combined with the fire from the Kiev put him down. So I'm saying the base is in a lot of trouble, and so am I, because while I did move far enough away. And this is going to come back to bite me. Now Streif is saying the Miyoko is on fire, so I checked to look, and it turns out the Miyoko is in fact not on fire. The Atlanta is also trying to punish the New Mexico, and again doing a lot of damage. The status is still the same. We are 4 ships behind the enemy team. This destroyer, Farragut, seems to be having it in for me. He is pushing forward, and now I have been detected. So I thought, okay, this is it. There is not a lot that I can do, short of sending up as many aircraft as possible, trying to get either dive bombs or torpedoes on target. Again, as many as possible. We need to kill this guy. Streif, fortunately, was coming back, although he was only at 5,000 hit points. Cleveland against a Farragut would be in the advantage of the Cleveland. But a Cleveland at this little health can still lose to a Farragut. So I'm trying to help out, sending in one dive bomber strike, do quite a nice amount of damage and put him on fire. Defend at the cap. This means that the Kiev has been killed. The Kiev, Vorny, has been killed off by, I believe, the Congo, which in turn got killed off by Vorny instead. So we get a bit of a just a flesh wound award there. Streif manages to kill the Farragut but dies in return. Currently 2 ships left versus 5 ships on the enemy team. And our last surviving ship, or our last surviving, let's say, actual fighting ship, New Mexico, is not doing very well. So it's time to start limiting the amount of ships that the enemy team can still field. I get a couple of bomber hits on this New York, don't really do as many as I'd hoped. I get a torpedo bomber running on the Koenigsberg instead, because again, the less guns the better. And there goes the Koenigsberg. I'm trying to really hug the edge of the map here, because my objective is to stay as far away from this battleship as possible. He has a 17 click range, or at least he is at 17 clicks. The moment he gets within 9 clicks, he's going to be able to detect me, and I'm going to be in a lot of trouble. Again, aircraft are being cycled. I have another dive bomber squadron outbound. The rest of them are inbound for repairs and mostly rearmament. Over here, our battleship is going through the last of its hit points, and 336, 56, there we go. I'm the last one alive against 4 enemy ships. Here we go. Dive bomber strikes the New York, puts it on fire in 2 separate locations. I don't believe he's able to put the fire out right away, so it does do some damage over time. Again, multiple aircraft spooling up, but this battleship is coming straight for me. I have about 3 clicks to kill it before it's going to be able to detect me and do a metric amount of damage to my ship. So I'm saying this battleship has to die right now. He has to go down, otherwise I'm going to be the last one to go down and we completely lose this match. As far as points goes, we are 153 versus 510, so very far behind. Torpedo bombers going in, getting a perfect side drop on this ship. A couple of torpedoes hit. Unfortunately the third one missed, but with flooding as well as fire damage, this guy is toast. No more New York. So that's my 4th kill. Now, there is still the issue of 3 enemy ships left. I still have plenty of aircraft in reserve, mostly because it didn't do any kind of risky attacks or didn't really have to deal with enemy aircraft. So, most of my aircraft are still in perfect condition. They have been taking some AA fire, but mostly they're alright. So, going to be using my torpedo bombers next on the Koenigsberg. Koenigsberg is turning himself into a bit of a troubled spot, as he doesn't really have that much room to maneuver. Unfortunately, I was a bit hasty with my torpedo bomber strike there. I only get 1 hit on him, although it does 7,500, and unfortunately doesn't cause flooding, so he didn't have to use his repair party. That is going to come back and bite me, because while the dive bombers sweep in and put this guy on fire, he is able to immediately put out the fire, and the damage over time does not kick in. This means that I'm going to have to hit him again with yet another bomber. Now, fortunately, the other 2 ships are nowhere to be seen. They are not even close to my position, so I can focus on taking out these ships one by one. My fighter squadron is keeping an eye on the Koenigsberg as yet another dive bomber squadron is lining up for an attack. And as I mentioned in chat, it's the DD I'm worried about. The destroyer is going to be the problem, because he's going to be the hardest one to hit. There he is, Gnevny on pretty low health. Put the Koenigsberg on fire again, and this time around he does not have his repair party handy, so he is going to continue to burn. In the meanwhile, the Miyoko that I mentioned earlier is putting up a hell of a fight. I'm trying to take down his fighter, and this ship is maneuvering pretty violently, making it very, very difficult for me to hit him. I try to get at least one torpedo hit on him, that's all I need, but he is shooting down my aircraft very, very quickly. Down to one bomber. Was able to kill off his fighter, but again lost one of my own fighters. We have a new contender for the cap, that's the Koningsberg. The Koningsberg, unfortunately for him, does not fix the damage, and he burns up. Kraken unleashed, 5th kill. New set of torpedo bombers going in, as my fourth squadron got killed off by the Miyoko. Now, my fighter, even though it is just one fighter, is going to have to try and spot this Gnevny. I'm not sure where it is. I know where it last was, and the smoke screen is an indication that it is probably out there. So that's where I'm focusing my search efforts. I need to get an eye on this guy, because without any good indication of where the hell he's going, I don't know where I need to start sending my planes. For now though, the Miyoko is up first, and this guy has put himself into a terrible spot. He's sailed between the islands, which means that he has no further room to maneuver and no further room to dodge. Torpedo bombers drop. They drop not exactly perpendicular to the ship, quite the opposite, and I thought that all of my torpedoes were going to miss, but this ship overcorrects, and that's all that I need him to do. That's kill number 6. Overcorrected. Now, Squadron 4, 5 and 6 are ready for a strike, but there is no target. I don't know where the target is. So, sending out all of my aircraft, trying to get the spot in, as Squadron 3 is coming back for resupply. But where is this Gnevny? He could be anywhere. Last time I saw him was over there in the smoke screen, but Gnevnys are pretty fast, so they could be heading, I don't know, back. He could be sailing right towards me. I don't know where he is. So I'm discussing it with Shreve. Where the hell is this guy? And I'm putting out a pretty wide search pattern with my aircraft, trying to get the spot on this guy. Fighters up in the north, west has a dive bomber, further west a torpedo bomber, and south we have another dive bomber, and there's the Gnevny. Moving in, dive bombers going in. I still have 2 minutes and 45 seconds left, so I should be able to get this guy done in time. Dive bombers going in, and completely miss. Now, hitting a destroyer with a dive bomber is not easy. These things are pretty damn maneuverable, and that makes them very hard to hit. So I'm really hoping that I can somehow get a kill shot on this thing, probably with a dive bomber, because torpedo bombers are even more difficult to hit. In the meantime, I'm taking fire. I have been letting this ship get too close. He's within 9.6. Currently 9.1, so I am going to take damage from him. Another strike coming in, and I incapacitate something. Doesn't really say what. Multiple strikes going in. Torpedo bombers trying to get the drop on him, but losing aircraft as I'm trying to line them up. I'm trying to get a cross drop on this guy. One coming in from the rear, one coming in from the side, so he has nowhere to go. But this Gnevny is putting up a hell of a fight. Unfortunately, not enough. We've sunk an enemy destroyer. So, as the enemy team comes to an end, so does my reign of terror. 7 ships destroyed, 6 ships set on fire, or at least 6 incidents of fire caused, 6 floodings, 15 torpedo hits, and 9 dive bomber hits. 5 times defended the cap. A whole lot of credits, a whole lot of XP, and quite the amount of medals. And especially the solo warrior is one that is pretty damn rare, at least for me. Team score. Managed to get a base XP of 2027. The guy below me, Krebs Colony and the Congo, got 1400, so I did quite a bit better than he did. Detailed report. As you can see, a lot of damage done on the New York. Almost all damage, as far as his hit points go, done to the Independence, because the guy was AFK. Koningsberg, Fuso, Miyoko, Gnevny, damage spread out quite nicely. Again, considering that this is an aircraft carrier, you want to be doing damage over time, and that's exactly what I did here. 26,667 damage done through fires and floodings, and especially the fire damage, I believe, saved me on several accounts. The flooding killed off the enemy aircraft carrier, but the fires were able to cause a lot of damage on, among which I believe the New York and the Koningsberg that I was able to dive bomb into oblivion. Credits and XP. 357,000 credits earned, but you're always going to be spending some stuff, and that leads to a net profit of 314,000. 4562 total XP. That's including all the modifiers for the first victory of the day, which is a 50% bonus, so not the times 2. Commander got a nice amount of XP as well. And overall, I gotta say, this was, I believe, the best match I have played in the Ryujo so far. Very, very close. I did not think we were going to win that, so I was very, very, very happy when we actually did. And it was a lot of work. I was quite nervous as I was doing all of these strikes. So, I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what your thoughts are on that game. And I'll see you soon for more videos for World of Warships, Wargame Red Dragon, XCOM, and other games. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. See you soon.